So in this journal, they talk about the theoretical um, relationships or effects on relationships of siblings, and they really discuss on the different aspects and the information that they found. They did give a lot of good information about how, like, the siblings like relationships, there's a lot of different aspects in which have not been like studied a lot, like the relationship between the parent and the sibling hasn't been thoroughly analyzed, which I'm going to reference in my triangle when I reference to rivalries that can be affected within in that triangle part. It's like sibling sibling, sibling parent, sibling parent parent. And so in that aspect, I'm going to reference to how in the sibling parent and the parent parent, and it says it in this article that, and it says it in another one too, that there isn't a lot of research on it, which is a significant reason why I wouldn't pick it. And then I also want to use this because it helps with like not only my more broadened doors within my like rooms, but it also helps because it's giving a lot of information on the different theoretical aspects. So in the sense of different ways in which sibling relationships are affected, whether it's from the parent and whether the relationship with the parent does have an effect on the siblings relationship. So in this article they talk about the way in which they find their information. They didn't do a study like other researchers have, in which they used like a questionnaire or something like that. This one didn't. They just had research and then they analyzed the research and they saw what connections were mostly made by other researchers and then discussed it. So in this article, they talk about how the effects of parents and siblings is definitely significant just because it is the first relationship that a sibling has. And so if they don't have that connection, then they end up having situations where they connect to the parents. And they talk a lot about vulnerability and the vulnerability relationship with a parent, in the sense that if your relationship with your parent is very vulnerable, meaning that they don't give you enough attention or they're not connecting with you on a different like level of like personality, then it causes you to have a more vulnerable relationship with your sibling. So if you have a less vulnerable if you have a less vulnerable like relationship with your parent, then you end up having a less vulnerable relationship with your sibling, which causes you to have a stronger bond with your sibling and then entails having a stronger bond with your parent. And so this is really significant because if you don't have the connection, then it shows that later, it also says that later in your relationships with other people, the same thing's gonna happen. So they're basically saying the development of us from the from child to from toddler ages, that the the development of the relationships with family members is huge for the development of the children's relationships with friends and other people and just anyone in the outside general facility, like the world. Because if they don't have that, then they don't really know how to act in a sense with other people. Obviously it's not the biggest, it's a big factor, but it's not the only thing. So obviously there are people that have had bad relationships with their parents and they still have amazing friendships. It's just that this is what's mainly shown.